Today we're going to do the Unit 3 Acquisition 4 Summative Lab on net ionic equations. The purpose of this experiment is to determine formulas of the reactants of possible chemical reactions and predict their products. If it is a precipitation reaction, a solid will precipitate when two solutions of salts are mixed. The reactions are then run and evidence of reactions will be observed. So I have the chemicals that we are going to use listed here. And your pre-lab should be done already. You should have looked up the safety precautions for each of these 8 chemicals. It is important in lab that we are always using chemicals safely, so we need to know the safety precautions of those chemicals. Number 2 is just some extra practice. Can you go from words to formulas? Can you write the formulas of these reactants, predict the products, balance the equation, and then write a net ionic equation? So let's get started on the lab. I believe there's 10 reactions that we are going to do, and I'm just going to mix equal proportions of these solutions in a well plate, and we are going to observe any sign of chemical reaction. So the first one is going to be sodium chloride. So I have a dropper bottle of sodium chloride, and I'm going to add a little bit of sodium chloride to the first well, and we are going to react it with copper to sulfate. And we are looking for any observations, any sign of chemical change. I don't see anything going on. We're going to say no reaction. Next reaction. This is going to be our only solid that we're going to use, and we're going to use zinc. So let's look at what zinc looks like. It is a silver piece of metal. I'm going to put that in our second well. And we are going to react with lead to nitrate. So I have my dropper bottle of lead to nitrate, and we're going to add that in with zinc. So remember, we're looking for any evidence of chemical reaction. So our options are temperature change, color change, precipitate formation. Remember, if a precipitate forms, it means we're mixing two solutions together and we're forming a solid. And then lastly, gas production. If there were gas production, we would see lots of bubbles forming. So take a look at what's happening with that metal, that solid that I put in there. So here is what the zinc looked like initially, and then what do you notice now? A reaction is definitely taking place. A color change is occurring. Alright, zinc started out silver. That solid now looks black. Next reaction, silver nitrate. So I have my dropper bottle of silver nitrate. I'm going to add that to the third well, and we are going to react silver nitrate with sodium chloride. Alright, so right away we can see those two solutions started out colorless, but when we mix them together, it turned white. The other thing, notice the difference between the first well and the third well. The first well, you can see right through to the bottom, right? You can see my finger through it. This one is much more opaque. We can't see through to the bottom. Well, why did that happen? Why can't we see through it? Well, it's because a solid is forming. And remember, we call that a precipitate. So a white precipitate formed. Next reaction, calcium chloride. So I have my dropper bottle of calcium chloride going into the fourth well. We are going to react calcium chloride with iron 3 nitrate. This one I'm going to say no reaction. So calcium chloride is a colorless solution. Iron 3 nitrate is this orange solution. So it does look a little bit yellow, but it looks lighter in color because we added a colorless solution to it. I would not call that a color change. I'm going to say no reaction. Next, we're going to use iron 3 nitrate into well 5. And we are going to react it with sodium hydroxide. This one I would definitely say color change. Looks like it kind of turned maybe like a dark orange or red color, so I definitely see color change. And if we look closely, let's see if I can focus this. There is a precipitate forming as well. Can you kind of see the solid in there? Alright, so those were our first 5 reactions. Next one, sodium chloride. I'm going to drop down to the next row. Sodium chloride and iron 3 nitrate. Again, this looks really similar to our 4th reaction. No reaction. I don't see a precipitate. I can still see through it. There wasn't a color change. My reaction started out an orangish yellow. It is still an orangish yellow. I would say no reaction. Copper 2 sulfate. Copper 2 sulfate is a very, very light blue color, if you can see that. And we're going to react it with iron 3 nitrate. Again, I don't see precipitate. The color does look like it changed, but only because we are reacting a blue solution with an orange solution. We didn't form a new color. Number 8, lead 2 nitrate with copper 2 sulfate. Alright, this one looks just like reaction 3. So again, right away I can see that it's white. I could not see through to the bottom. It means it's getting cloudy. The reason we can't see through it, the reason that it is cloudy is because there's solid formed in there. So we would call that precipitate formation. Alright, next one, lead 2 nitrate with sodium chloride. Alright, again it turned white. It's cloudy, meaning a precipitate formed. And our last reaction, copper 2 sulfate with sodium hydroxide. So right away we see that it turns a blue color. It looks cloudy. That means that a solid is forming. Let me see if I can zoom in on these last few for you. So anytime it's cloudy, anytime that we can't see through it, it means a solid is forming, which we call a precipitate.